And guys, by the way, I'm going pro in Rocket League.
See, look at your face. Look at your face.
You can't let yourself get distracted when you're in a lofty video. Oh! All right, true Wendy's horror story 2.
Always show respect to the people working in food service.
Oh yeah.
Especially in fast food. You never know what they're going through.
Facts.
That's something my parents always told me, but I still had to learn it myself to get it to stick. Though it didn't take long into adulthood before that happened. It was several years ago now, and my girlfriend and I were in the process of moving in together. Unfortunately, the movers had shown up many hours late, then drove off with all our stuff in their truck around 11 p.m. with the promise that they'd be back the next day.
Bro, they're lying.
Since we didn't have any groceries to cook, we opted out for fast food. The Wendy's in our old neighborhood was always of stand-up quality, so we decided to check out the one a couple blocks from our new home. On the surface, it was a little outdated, but extremely clean. Cleaner than any fast food.
Oh, and wait, shout out to you guys for helping me reach 700 subscribers. And please, will you go check out my animation that took me 13 hours to make?
Establishment I'd ever seen before. As we ordered our food, I noticed something strange. Their customer service was fine, but the employees looked really tired, like they might pass out from exhaustion at any moment. Usually the fast food kitchen is a fast-paced environment with people on the move, yelling out orders and whatnot. But inside this kitchen, nobody moved from their post even an inch, and nobody spoke to each other, causing this eerie silence. Despite all that, our food came out quickly, and I was glad for it. Seeing their weary faces just reminded me of how tired I was. My girlfriend was also excited. Sure enough, the food was alright by my standards. My girlfriend, however, didn't get as lucky. Just a few bites in, and her face suddenly twisted with disgust.
What did she eat?
She dropped her sandwich and reached into her mouth.
Bro, is that hair?
Ew! There's a hair in my sandwich.
I rolled my eyes and sighed deeply. I knew her appetite had been spoiled.
Bro, you want mine?
We were both in a bad mood, so even though we both knew better, it felt like this was just one more thing that had been done to us to make our day worse. My girlfriend was always too shy to ever return food at a restaurant or ask for a refund for anything. And to be real, I was usually the same way. But on this day, I was fed up. And more than that,
I wanted to show out for my girlfriend.
Bro.
Since I hadn't been able to do anything about the movers, I'd at least like to make a stand to make sure she was fed right. So I fished the receipt out of the bag and stormed up to the counter once more. The employee at the register said nothing.
Bro, he doesn't
as he
care.
stared through me with soulless eyes. Excuse me, sir, but I found a hair in my food. I'd like a refund.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
His eyes flared to life with a traumatized look of anxiety. It really caught me off guard. I was expecting resentment and annoyance, not fear. If you like a refund, I'll have to get my manager. Are you sure you don't want this, sir?
Yo,
yeah.
what's up with this manager?
Do what you gotta do, man. We're not hungry anymore. The kid didn't leave the register, just pushed a few buttons, then looked back at me with a clenched jaw. Only a few moments later, the manager revealed herself from the back. She waddled toward the counter, swinging her hips around on bowed legs. She was morbidly obese, as if she ate Wendy's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner day in and day out.
Wait,
Though she was clearly middle-aged, her face had a lot of acne due to the grease in her diet. And her hair was pale red and wispy thin, desperately braided into lopsided pigtails. Apparently at some point in this woman's past, she looked like the girl on the Wendy's sign. But at this point, she was clearly holding on to a dream that had withered and died decades ago.
I'm terribly sorry about the issue with your food, sir. You said it was a hair? What has my father's restaurant come to?
Bro.
This used to be such a fine establishment. But don't worry, sir. I'll get this straightened out right away.
She turned away without giving me time to respond.
Now, which one of you sorry strays left one of your mangy, rotten hairs in this fine man's food? Huh?
Many of them darted their eyes away from her, shooting glances at me that read like pleas for help mixed with hexes on my entire family. I tried to step a little closer and say something to her that might bring her back to the counter, but That's when I noticed something that put me at a total loss for
What,
words.
bro? Oh my gosh.
The employees were chained to their
Oh.
workstations by the ankles, with little handcuffs that blended in with all the polished stainless steel in the kitchen. I realized why they all looked so dead tired.
Bro.
They literally couldn't leave. And that's when the Wendy found her culprit. A fry cook who'd let a single lock of hair slip out from under his hairnet.
Oh, so it came from your sickly little mop, did it? You like your hair, do ya? You just want to let it all hang out, is that right?
Bro.
Well, let me help you set it free.
She struck the poor kid across the face.
Oh my gosh.
And kicked out his knees, sending him to the floor. She grabbed him by the neck and pulled him up to his knees. Holding him there, she took a clump of his hair and ripped it right out of his scalp. She started to walk back to the counter, out of breath, with hair still stuck in the sweat of her palms.
Did you want a refund?
No, I'm good.
Instead of responding,
No.
I turned right around and rushed to the table.
Girl, let's go.
My girlfriend was already on the phone with 911.
Oh, okay, she
I
saw
took
it.
her by the hand and led her outside,
let's go, man.
where we waited for the police to arrive. Within half an hour, that wretched woman was in handcuffs all her own, getting squeezed into the back of a squad car. These days, my girlfriend and I have since gotten married.
All right.
And as we look forward to starting a family, we know that one of the first lessons we'll teach our kids
Don't be rude to
is to
employees.
never make complaints about fast food, and we'll never let them work in it either.
All right, this next one's by Wanty
It happened
Entertainment.
when I was in
Whoa, calm down. This next one's by Wanty Entertainment, and it's titled "The Weird Man in the Metro."
It happened when I was in 6th grade.
All right.
I was on my way home by subway with
Hey, my animation. She said she was 12.
my mom, and a man with a paper bag was standing in front of us.
Okay.
He kept staring at
No.
me, feeling burdened. I tried to ignore him by borrowing my mom's cell phone and watching YouTube. However,
No, he's
the
too
man
close.
suddenly said,
She looks a lot like my daughter.
Okay.
I was surprised at first, but quickly
Well, I'm
relieved
not.
of my alertness since it seemed he has no dangerous intention.
Your mom.
Mom replied, "Oh, thank you," and tried to stop talking to him, but he continued.
My daughter is pretty too. She seems to be about the same
Bro,
age
no
as
one
my daughter.
asked, bro.
And you must be having a hard time taking the subway so late at night.
Bro, I'm not your daughter.
Then he handed us a paper bag he was holding.
Nah, man.
And said,
There's a bomb
I
in there.
baked some bread today. Give it to your daughter.
she refused many times, but he kept saying,
You know, lots of the children are usually hungry at this time.
or,
This is a really delicious one.
it's hard to ignore him when he's been
Bro,
recommending it
it's
not once
blue.
or twice. So we were forced to take a paper bag and put it on my lap and waited to get to the next station we could get off. After a while, he talked to me again.
Why aren't you eating?
I don't want to eat
I
now.
didn't know what to do, so I said, "Oh, I just ate a lot, so I'm not hungry yet. I'll eat later." Then he asked me once again.
I said, why aren't you eating?
All right, bro. Tee up.
His facial expression was stiff and bizarre, so I still remember that moment vividly. I apologized politely and asked him inversely this time, "Why do you give me this bread instead of your daughter?" Then he replied,
Oh, because I can't see my daughter anymore.
My mom, who was getting anxious,
Bro.
watched me quietly
Mom,
from the side.
why aren't you
and
doing
dragged me.
nothing? Thank you.
Sweetie, we're getting off soon, so we have to stand by the door. She took me to the closed door, and for 10 minutes before getting off, he kept looking at me.
Oh my gosh.
Just before we arrived at the station, he came to us and told like this.
I gave you this. Why didn't you eat? Why? Why?
We couldn't make a fuss while we were still in the subway, so we waited desperately
What do you mean you can't make a fuss? He's literally harassing you.
to arrive at the station as soon as possible. Fortunately, we arrived at the station shortly after, and at that very moment, we left the subway as if we were running away. I thought about eating bread on our way home because of his
No.
favor.
No.
However, I was also a little suspicious that he tried to force me to eat it.
Bro, it's poison.
So I ended up throwing it away
Thank you.
eventually. The more I thought about it, the more creepy it was.
Oh my gosh. Alright, True Lollipop Horror Story animated, and it's also by
I was 12 when
Wanty
this happened.
Entertainment.
Today's
Wait.
my birthday.
She says she was 12.
Birthday, and I'm turning 13. So one day I went to get groceries from the nearby convenience store.
All right, those
I
Pringles.
was curious about what my mom
Ramen.
had given me, so I took the list out and read it.
All right.
Onions, carrots, sauce,
Mustard?
chilies, and a lollipop.
Then what's
My 5-year-old brother
what's this
loved
thing?
lollipops. I did too, but I didn't like them as much as he did. So I bought the items and I went home. Mom wasn't home yet, so I gave my brother a lollipop and took one for myself.
All right.
I went to my room and was about to start watching Netflix when
Wait,
I
I just realized she's 13 and she's shopping by herself. I don't know about that.
heard my brother talking to someone. I was puzzled.
How old is your
My
brother?
mom hadn't come home yet since I didn't hear the door open. There was no one else here. I got up and went down and saw my brother by the window talking to someone. I walked up to him and he turned around. I asked who he was talking to and his answer scared me. Oh, it was my new friend Alberto.
Who was that?
I knew all of his friends, but none of them were named Alberto. I went near the window
Oh,
just to see a
no,
dark
bro.
shadow fade into the woods near my house. That's when my mom came in. She asked why I was looking so frightened. I told her what my brother told me, and she wasn't shocked or anything like that. I was a scaredy cat. I would never
Oh.
watch horror movies, and if I
Okay.
did, I'd usually not be able to sleep for 3 nights.
Oh my goodness.
But what I'd seen was real. She didn't believe me and told me it was probably my imagination. After
Okay, Mom, here's my dilemma. Why do parents always think that, oh, it's your imagination, sweetie? No! I actually saw.
a few days without any commotion, my mom said she had to go to her college and she said
Oh,
she had to
boy.
file some admission
Oh
paperwork.
boy.
She left.
Bro, he's
and
like
my brother
4.
took 2 lollipops out of the packet. I didn't pay much attention to it and went to my room.
He took 2.
Then
oh,
I heard
one
a
for his
sucking
bro.
sort of sound, like when a kid's sucking on a toy or a lollipop. I rushed down and saw my brother near the window crying.
Why?
The window was
Oh.
open and
Oh,
there was a
no,
creature who
bro.
was sucking on both the lollipops. It was black with a huge mouth which spread from one ear to another.
That's his
It
friend?
had greasy long hair which was dripping with some sort of liquid that looked like blood. I screamed and ran toward the window and shut it down.
Bro, these kids,
I was
bro.
surprised he didn't do anything. I took my brother and ran upstairs.
Call the cops.
I could hear it banging on the windows. I took my phone and called the police, and then I called my mother. She was mortified. The
Oh, well,
police
you
said
didn't
that they
believe
would
me,
arrive
so-
in 10 minutes. We hid in our bathroom because that's what we're supposed to do, right?
The window.
My brother was still crying, repeating the words, I got one for him and one for me, but why did he?
Why are you worried about the lollipop?
My brother was the most annoying kid in the world, but he was my brother. What was 10 minutes felt like 10 hours until the banging stopped and we heard the siren of the police car. My mom burst into the room and hugged us. She then took us downstairs. The police were there. There was blood all over the window and on the carpet. The police didn't get him. I had nightmares for a month after that incident. It was clear that my brother had nightmares too, since he woke up crying every night for about 2
Bro,
months.
it's his fault, bro. Shut up.
After about 5 months, we moved out. Now, I love my new home. I didn't have any friends at my old home, but here I made 2 besties. Now as I'm writing this, I remember another thing. The creature was eating the lollipop with one hand, and in the other he had a leg of a human.
Very fine details you left out. All right, this last one's by Llama, and it's called House Sitting Horror Stories. Llama, show me what's up. Show me what's up. Ooh,
A couple weeks ago, my dad came home and pitched me a small job offer. One of his
Yes,
coworkers
some
was going
black
away for a
people.
few days and needed somebody he could trust to watch over his house. The reason my dad pitched this to me was because the man's house has a big CCTV system, basically a camera in every room, and then an operating desk where all screens could be watched on a big monitor. And I'm a computer science major, so my dad just always assumes that I know how to work anything technological. The man told my dad that he'd pay me $200 for the 2 days just to watch the house.
Honestly, bro,
Whatever that
do
meant.
that.
My dad drove me to the house and introduced me to the man, whose name doesn't matter. The man made it seem like
No,
he preferred
oh
I stay in the
gosh.
upstairs room with the monitors as opposed to
Bro.
roaming the house all day. That was fine with me though. So when I wasn't eating, I was mostly just sitting in that room with the TV on in the background and doing schoolwork on my laptop. Ironically, the thing I was doing the least was keeping an eye on the monitors. Night came. I started wondering where in the house I should sleep since surprisingly we hadn't
Nah,
discussed.
you don't sleep, bro.
So I sat back down at the desk and looked at all the different rooms on the screens to see which rooms had beds or couches. I noticed something I wasn't expecting to notice though.
What?
The back screen door was open downstairs. I didn't remember it being open. I looked through each and every camera screen in a panic.
Yep, he's black.
In the living room, a closet door was open.
Oh.
This one I knew wasn't open earlier.
Bro, check it back.
I texted my dad to call the man and ask him if he came back home. Meanwhile, I continued watching the screen.
Bro, make sure your door's locked.
On the grainy, dark image, a tall person who resembled only a black shadow on the screen stepped out from the closet. I pulled my arms off the desk as I covered my mouth with my hands in shock.
Lock the door.
As I did this, however, my left elbow pulled some heavy object from the desk onto the floor, creating a big thud.
Bro.
The person in the image very clearly moved their head up to the ceiling as a response to the noise. They went for the stairs, walking up very, very slowly, step by step. Meanwhile, I got a text back from my dad saying, "No, he's not. I just spoke to him half an hour ago." Why?
I'm cooked, that's why.
I got so caught up in my phone texting my dad to send help that I didn't even pay attention to the monitor. There was a knock at the door.
Oh my gosh.
I looked
locked,
at it
right?
and then the screens. The first screen I laid my eyes on was the one showing the person outside the door to the room I was in. When I remembered that door had no lock,
I know it's hard to remember the people we used to be.
Alright. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
the only thing I could think to do was jump out the window into the bushes below. I ran halfway down the block and then stopped when my dad called me. I had him call his friend and ask him if he was expecting somebody in the house. The man said he had no relatives or friends who had his key or
Call
would
the
ever let
cops,
themselves
please.
into his home. So he called the cops and had them review the footage. I got to watch all of it, and it showed everything. From the moment the intruder broke the glass to the backyard door, to the moment I jumped out the window and him running away shortly after. The intruder was never found. The footage was just too dark to identify his face.
Yeah, I feel you. Bro, I already said my outro. Guys, I'm out.